Hi, warm welcome. Good evening. Welcome to the Wake Up Women Conversation series, where today I am going live with Aanchal Kejriwal from Bangalore. I'm just going to wait for a couple of you to join us. I can see that Sneha has already joined in, and I can see a lot more people joining in. I think Aanchal is also here. So let's add Aanchal onto the screen. Um, Great. So, okay. I'm sending an invitation to Aanchal to join the conversation, and then I shall introduce her, and we shall have a fun conversation. Hi, Aanchal. I trust you have got the invitation. Okay, great. You are here with me. Please say hi so that I know we have the audio on point.
Hi, Sheetal. Am I audible?
Yes, audio is good. So warm welcome everyone, everybody who's joining in. So Wake Up Women conversation series is something we started to really bring all the women from our community who have broken barriers, who've gone through, personal barriers, maybe external barriers, to really take charge of their finances. And it's so important to bring out these stories of women who don't come from finance background. Achal will tell you that. And women who are homemakers, women who are professionals, they are in businesses, they're just starting out, setting up a business of their own. So many women from different backgrounds who've come together and found this platform where they can, each one of them has taken charge of their finances, and just like them, you can too. And that's why these stories are so important to come out and reach the hearts of many women who are logged in today. So warm welcome, Aanchal. And Aanchal is from Bangalore. She is a product designer at Atlassian. If that's okay, please correct me. But over to you, Aanchal. Please share something about you and what really made you take up a course on finance. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So, hello everyone who's dialed in. Thank you, Sheetal, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be able to contribute back and be a part of the call. As Sheetal mentioned, I'm a product designer. I'm currently working with Atlassian. I have been into this for around 7 years now. Along with that, I'm also a children's book illustrator. I've recently launched my own book. Yeah, that's a bit about me. And like Sheetal mentioned, no, I do not have, or I did not have any financial background until yet. I learned design. I did my bachelor's in design after college. So yeah, that's been my journey until now.
Awesome. And please share with all our viewers and all your maybe friends and family members who are logged in about, what really made you take charge of yours to stand up and even take notice of the fact that, hey, I need financial education, a proper financial education, right? So what was that for you?
Sure, definitely. So I think I believe your experiences that you've had shapes you as a person, right? So I mean, since I was a child, as it happens in many other Indian families, the kids are not brought into the conversation of what's going on in finance,
Yeah.
what's the money situation, and all of that. So, like while growing up, me and my brother, we were, always protected by our parents, as all the parents want to do. I mean, there's nothing wrong in that. So, I mean, while growing up, they provided for us and everything. But then my mom, I've always seen my mom work. I mean, she's 57 today and she's still working. So she's a very big example for me. So I've always seen her work, and she's always the one who's been the guiding force, and always calling out that women, no matter what, should be independent. I mean, you should not be dependent on anybody else for anything in your life. So I think that's something that always keeps me, pushes me to go further than where I am today. So once I started working, I mean, I had this since I was a child that the day I start working, I'm not going to be dependent on anybody. So I think that's something that has always pushed me. And while when I started working, I think that's where all these taxes and sharing your proofs and all of that come into picture, right? And then I was like, okay, what's happening? people were like, buy an insurance, invest in an FD, or only these were the things that were being talked about, just so you know how to save your tax. But then there wasn't any conversation that I was seeing that was happening around growing your money, or what happens in inflation, or your retirement. I mean, these things don't even come into your mind when you start at a very young age. So, like, I think, and just immediately after that, I mean, COVID hit. And then, like, it was not like only a certain people with certain background were impacted, but then businesses were getting impacted, people were losing jobs, a lot of things were happening around, there was a lot of negativity. And I think during that period is when I saw a friend of mine share Priyanka's post of Women on Wealth. That's how I discovered Women on Wealth to start with. So I just went in, digged around a bit, saw what's going on, and I was like, okay, there needs to be some sort of a structure that needs to be followed. I mean, I did not want to go ahead and start investing blindly that, okay, people are buying this stock, so let me buy it. Okay, this is a mutual fund that sounds good, let me just go ahead and invest there. I do not want to do that. I mean, as a person, I'm somebody who's very research oriented. So I think this was something that really spoke to me. So that's how I got into the entire program. Yeah.
So you've shared so many things. I think one, you had the push that you required in the form of your mother, who always taught that, okay, you got to be independent, right? And you've seen her working and earning and all of that. Then, the thing you said about COVID, yes, when it struck, then it struck everyone. Everyone was impacted,
Yeah.
right? And then, for you also, you also touched upon how, as you started working, people don't necessarily talk about how you could do better with the money that's coming into your life, or what to do with your taxes, how can you be smart in that area, right? um, and exactly, I think for these reasons we have our community, we have this space where we can come and talk about it. you know like, I know that for the first 10 years of my working and earning life, I wasn't really smart, I wasn't saving. But now I think, in this space, I'm even able to acknowledge that, yes, that happened with me. And then when I do that, I see so many other women in the community also share that, okay, that happened with them too.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
how we continue, we've learned from the program, and we continue to just do things together and make progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, what next? What are the financial, what's the vision that you have for your financial future, which is making you consistently do the work you do on your money life now?
So I think going back to COVID, I think when I started this course, so I was um, okay, all sorts of things are happening, and this is something that's happened to us right now, but then it has happened previously. There's a chance for it to happen in the future as well, right? Because nothing is set in stone. So I was like, okay, there needs to be some structure for me to work upon that in case I am faced with such a scenario. So thankfully, none of my family members, like immediate family members or me, were impacted with the COVID on how it happened. Like thankfully, like touch gold, financially nothing went wrong. But then I was like, there needs to be some sort of a blanket that I need to create for myself on how do I go about it from here. Like in future, if I'm faced with such a challenge, how do I protect myself to be able to survive till a place that I'm able to figure things out for myself.
Mm.
So I think that
Mm.
is very important, and that's something, or I would say that was a sort of vision that was missing. In fact, I got to know about it once I spoke, once I attended the webinar from Priyanka. I was like, okay, this is something that sounds really interesting, and this is something that needs to be built upon. And I was like, why aren't people talking about it? Like, why isn't it being spoken about, and why aren't people discussing it? So I think that is something that I wanted to, I still want to go ahead. I mean, I've come far along since where it started. At least I have that emergency fund and the blanket that I've
Mm.
always wanted to have for myself and my family. So I think that's a very big, I would say, a win for me and from the team who have supported. Also, I would talk about the community that you had mentioned right now and how
Mm.
important. So when I just started, it was very overwhelming because everything was so new. I was like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? What am I supposed to do? But I think once you have all of these other people who are there with you through the journey, it becomes easier knowing that okay, you can figure it out together, and you don't know it, but you don't know it yet. I think that is very important to have as a mindset if you want to grow. And like, you are not pushing alone, there everybody else who's there with you on this journey, so you'll get there eventually. So I think
Mm,
that feeling of community is very important. I think there was another point that I would really like to call out. So I think there was a discussion that was happening in the community once, and I was mentally going through that, but then I was like, okay, who can I reach out to or talk about it? And then, suddenly I saw this spark of conversation in the community that was happening. This was regarding working on your net worth, and then how do you go about building your profile and all of that. So I think I was at a place where I wanted to work on it, but I was like, okay, I wasn't sure how to go about it. And I think I think Potika, if I'm right, so she's the one who initiated the conversation around this. And I was like, and we both were like, okay, let's do it. Let's see how it goes. And from there, we can take it on. So I think that little spark from the community that was brought up was very important. Obviously, it turned over to a couple of months, me working on my profile, getting it out, doing a couple of more things around it. But I think that little spark was something that ignited the entire conversation and gave me the
mm,
strength to go about and have that conversation with my team as well. So yeah, I
mm.
think that is a very strong community that we're building up here. Not
Wow.
only that, I mean, just to add to it, like even in Bangalore, we have this very strong community. Like I was able to meet up with a couple of them for one of the Bangalore meetups, and I think that was really great. Seeing people coming in from all backgrounds, different professions, different part of
Mm.
the country, all in Bangalore, trying to build towards one vision. I think even that's very empowering overall.
Wow. Yes, yes, our community is the secret ingredient, right? And something you said about, how a conversation in the community chat group sparked something in you that, hey, something I need to look at and who can I reach out to? And that's what happens when we are in a community, because if I'm doing this work all by myself, I'm limited to my experiences. I'm limited to where I'm going or how far I can see. But when we get into a conversation, when we are in this group and 10, 20 women are sharing what their vision is, or what are the actions they are taking, then it opens up a whole new way of looking at, for example, my own financial plan, right? So
Yeah,
it adds different dimensions.
yeah.
And the yeah and the whole point about working on our money life is that, okay, how far ahead can I see so that I can take the required actions today?
Yeah.
So that is what it is. So yes, thank you for also mentioning the community. And by the way, for everybody who's listening, Achal has also joined hands and she's volunteering in contributing to putting the Bangalore meetup together. Yes, we are online, but we have a community meets which happen offline. So for all our Bangalore community members, please know that 17th December the Bangalore local meetup is happening. So plans are underway. So you don't want to miss it. So do check the community post and come in. Okay. Now, Achal, I also want to really ask you, what is that um, you having taken charge, you have an experience of what it feels like to really build something with my money and have a beautiful vision or work towards it. So what is that message that you want to give to all our listeners and all the women out there?
Okay, so I think, okay, so there was this conversation that I heard this morning, and it struck me that, still how much of uh, education and, I would say, uh, awareness that needs to be spread around. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
there was this car dealer who had called up or messaged a person that hey, you need servicing, but then it was immediately addressed as sir, and not sir slash ma'am, where it still talks about the mentality where we are that, if it's related to
Mm,
insurances or services or whatever is needed, it always has to speak to a male perspective, right? I mean, I think that's something that I heard this morning. So I was like, okay, there is a lot of awakening that needs to happen. So I think from my perspective and the journey that I have been, I think it is very important in today's world, especially women, to take care of their finances by their own. At least know what's happening, where is it going. If you're investing, know why you're doing that. Don't be blindsided by things that you hear. Like
mm,
for me, it might be easier to say. I'm not sure, like everybody would be going on with their own challenges, but it is never late. I mean, in the community, I've seen people come in at the age of 50, at the age of 60. There are people who are starting very young. I mean, I consider myself to be lucky enough to be starting at this age. Like when I got into money gym program, I was what, I think 28. So like so and I think in this perspective, I find myself really lucky to be able to be a part of this so early. But I think um, the stories that I've heard, even in the community, of how people have, or how women have come out of what they were facing in their life, and just that story of theirs is so empowering to hear on how they have been able to tackle the struggles that they were facing and come out. So I think my only message would be it's never late. I mean, at any stage in your time, you can take it up, be responsible for what you're doing with your money, how you want to grow, how do you see your life, and you can always build towards it. It is very overwhelming at first, I will not lie, but then once you start understanding the structure, you feel empowered and it pushes you to do better.
yes, yes, it's never late. You said it. And as you were sharing, I kept looking at, oh, who are those community members? And I have the privilege of speaking to so many, right? As we bring batch after batch. And I'm so happy that you have started early. And there are some young women who are starting earlier. And yes, there are women who come in at 57,
Yeah,
and their struggle is very different. Some may have built the kind of money, they have accumulated money, and now they have just maybe 2-3 years before they retire, and they really want to understand. And one common thing they tell us is, if they have accumulated some money, then again, all the maybe the banks would or brokers would approach them, asking them to now decide, because they know that it's that stage of their life, and how they experience, I think, pressure and being taken for a ride, or they're scared of being taken for a ride, and hence they are coming in and taking the required education.
yeah,
And I think in a large way, the fact that we are women only, and we are a community where you can come and talk and have a one-on-one conversation, group conversation, that gives a lot of confidence, I think.
yeah,
So yes, that message that you have shared stands so true, that it is never late, whether you are 25 or whether you're 57, or even 65, whatever the age may be. Yeah, you have a place that you can come to.
yeah.
Okay, so
It's a
yes,
safe
on
space.
that note, absolutely. And I'm so excited for the upcoming Bangalore meetup. And thank you so much, Aanchal, for really coming in and sharing your journey. Because this is what I strongly believe, that, if we had so many examples of women, um, just like regular education, even before
Yeah,
a child is born, it is decided that the child is going to go to school and college,
yeah,
right? It's only because there's so many examples. It's the definition of success. you
yeah,
know so,
exactly.
and that's what we are building with each story, with your story as well. We've put out an example of how women are taking charge no matter the background, and how such examples must stand out. So thank you for coming and sharing your story, and I'm so certain it has inspired so many women who are listening. And yeah, we will keep coming back and share updates about how your financial journey goes. Okay. So
Definitely.
thank you again. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
take charge. Yes. and
My
have a
pleasure.
great evening.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much. Have a good evening. Bye bye. Thank you.